Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to this live training where we're talking about overcoming some of the largest job search challenges that you might be facing. We're going to be talking about everything from career gaps to changing industries. Now, if you can hear me and see me okay, make sure you give this video a big, huge thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you are notified when we do free live trainings like this on YouTube. And also make sure you let me know in the comments of this video or in the live chat where you are joining us from today. It looks like we had some amazing people jump into the chat early. We have Tim here. Hello, Tim. Karen is here. So happy to see you, Karen. She says, here from the middle of Michigan. Welcome. Tim, let's see. Benjamin is here from Philippines. Patrice is here from Maryland. So happy to have you guys here. Paul is here from Canada. Jennifer, happy to see you, is here from Jacksonville. Tane, I always love seeing you in the live chat. Stella is here. Frederick is here. Say hello if you have not yet done so. If you've ever been to a live training of mine, you know that I ask a lot of questions and I like to chat with you guys in the live chat or in the comments if you are watching this on replay. So say hello in the chat. We are going to be jumping into some amazing content today. I'm going to be sharing some resources with you, lots of slides. So make sure you're taking lots of notes. Make sure you have your screenshot tools ready and have the internet ready, another tab open, because I'm going to be sharing lots of free resources with you today. So this training is going to be so over the top. Now, I have two of my amazing team members here. They are going to be moderating the chat. They're going to be answering questions. So here's the thing. We get lots and lots of questions during these live streams. And if I were to answer them all, we'd probably be on live for 2, 3, 4 hours with you guys. So we want to make sure that we streamline the entire process. Say hello to Tori and Carrie in the live chat. They are going to be sharing links with you guys. They're going to be answering questions. And then of course, I'm going to also spend some time at the end to answer questions. So get questions in, get your screenshot tools ready, get your notes ready, all that good stuff. So happy to see you guys in the chat. I'm going to jump right into slides because we have so much to cover today. So we are talking about, again, the biggest job search challenges. So we're going to cover everything from those nasty, or actually shouldn't even call them nasty because they're not nasty, but those career gaps to changing industries. So again, if you have not yet done so, make sure you tap the like button on this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and make sure you let us know in the chat where you're joining us from today. Now, before we get into all the amazing content, I want to share something with you guys that we have been wanting to do on this channel for a really, 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 really long time. We are hosting a brand new, this is brand spanking new. This is content we have never shared before. And we have never done a live series like this before. We are going to be doing a 3-day live job search mastery mini series. Now, this is free to you guys on YouTube, and it's all happening next week. So to snag your spot for that, you need to go to heatheraustin.online/live class. We will also pop the link for you in the chat. I'm going to try and see if I can pin the link for you so that you can see that in the chat. It is also in the comments section on this video. So if you are watching us in the replay, you should see it in the comment section of the video. So go to heatheraustin.online/live class. This is where you will be able to save your spot for this free live training. Now, if you joined us in January for our 3-day LinkedIn mini series, this is really similar, except we're not just going to cover LinkedIn in this mini series. We are covering every single step of the job search process, all the way from the start, all the way to the end. So make sure you save your spot for that. Now, here's just a quick overview of what we're covering during the job search mastery mini series. On day 1, so that's a week from today. So make sure you save your spot so that you get all the notifications, all the good stuff pertaining to the event. Day 1, we are talking about proven job search and networking strategies that end the ghosting game. On day 2, so right after that, the next day, we are talking about mastering your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profile. On day 3, so Thursday, the next day after, we are covering advanced interview and salary negotiation tactics. So we are covering every single phase of the job search process during this Mastery mini series. Now, we are also having a special bonus day to help you recap what we learned and to also do LinkedIn and resume reviews. So if you want to get your name submitted for the live LinkedIn resume and resume review, you need to save your spot for this event. The only people we're taking in terms of the review are people that actually save your spot. So make sure you jump in, save your spot for that. That will enter you into Monday's bonus session where we are going to do the recap plus resume and LinkedIn profile reviews. Now, if this does not entice you enough to get to this event, we are also doing giveaways. Now, our last LinkedIn mini series that we did giveaways, and we're doing giveaways again because they're so much fun. Here's the difference this time though. We are doing, when you see our $25 Amazon gift cards, we're doing multiple gift cards. So last time, I think we did a $50 gift card, but we only selected one person. Well, during each of these live streams, with the exception of Thursday, we will be selecting multiple winners for the gift card, okay? So you'll definitely want to save your spot. You do need to be live and interact with us in the chat. And my team is going to be there moderating the chat, and they're going to be selecting a couple lucky people each day, and we send the gift card to you right away. So again, make sure you're there for that. On Thursday, we are doing a giveaway for our premium career and job search program, World Class Career Academy. We have amazing people that have won this in the past, and in fact, they might even be here. Catherine's here. I know that. Hello, Catherine. She's one of our winners from a while ago. This is one of my favorite days on Thursday. So you have to participate in the chat in order to be qualified for these amazing giveaways. So with that out of the way, again, go to heatheraustin.online/liveclass. Click the link in the chat that you see here. I've pinned it at the top, or go to the comments below this video to save your spot. First question for you, besides where are you joining us from? I want to know in the chat, which aspect of the job search do you find the most daunting? Now, what you're going to learn next week during the mini series, again, I take you through the entire job search process, and I actually share with you 7 steps. So you'll learn more about that next week, but which aspect of the job search right now is the most daunting? So we got loads of emails before this live training, and some people had said, Heather, I've applied to more jobs than I can count. I think my resume is pretty good, but I also haven't rewritten it or really even written it in a really long time, and I'm really trying hard to figure out, how do I adapt my resume to every position? Some people even said, hey, I'm now starting to take my resume and go into physical locations and give them my resume and apply for jobs. So let me know in the chat which process, or which part of the job search is the most daunting to you. While you guys are typing that in, I'm going to share some success stories with you. So we have people that send in success stories all the time, just telling us about, hey, I've seen your videos, I used your product, I joined your program, this is what's happening, yada, 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 right? So Michael wrote in and said, thank you for the amazing and insightful videos. I applied for a position with my state on 3 separate occasions and did not get the job. Then he came and found us on YouTube, right? He says, prior to my 4th attempt, which I was hesitant to do. So he was now applying for the 4th time. He said, I discovered your videos. I studied them day in and day out. And guess what? I got the job. Now, another success story for you is from Amy. She says, I stumbled across one of your videos on YouTube, and I have to say it was the best resume video I have seen. She said, the information you provided was so key and truly helped me overcome the hurdle of writing about myself and putting quantifiable achievements into your resume. Give me an amen if you've ever struggled with that. She said, I was able to land the exact job I was after with a 30% salary increase. Now, another success story with you really quickly. Joshua, his is simple. All he wrote in was, Heather, thanks to your videos and awesome resume template, I was able to get a $35,000 promotion. I'm grateful for the work you do. Now, these success stories, they are the reason why me and my team show up for you here on YouTube, whether through live trainings or the videos that we post, because we get messages like this. And let me say, there are times it's not all sunshine and rainbows for us. There are times we get discouraged or we don't want to show up and film a video or whatever it might be. But the day or the days that we do get these messages, this is what puts fire under us. And so that's why we do what we do. So let me see where you guys are in the chat in terms of your kind of what your biggest struggles are. Now, I know that we received a lot of different messages before this. I want to see where you're at and all that good stuff. So Victoria says interviewing and explaining a gap, and we're going to talk all about that, Victoria. Resume revisions. Richard says networking. Mohammed, happy to have you, says the right resume to the job and no response. Tane just had an interview and waiting for the second. I'm so excited to hear. You'll have to email me with how it's going and your success story. Again, networking. I'm seeing a lot of networking in here. Vanessa makes a good point. So many jobs to look through and pick which to apply, and it takes so long to apply. Amen, sister. So I'm going to be covering all of that next week in detail. So you'll definitely want to make sure you join us for that free event. Lisa makes a really good point. Getting acknowledged after applying. Chrissy, hello, says most daunting cover letter and rejections. And Kent, getting past the bot. Yes. You guys, we're going to cover a lot of things today, but next week, for those 3 days, plus our bonus session the following week, we are going to be diving into almost every single one of these. So again, make sure you are you're here for that. And of course that you are here for today. So we have been able to help job seekers from all over the world. Here's just a couple of the companies that we help job seekers land interviews and job offers at: Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft. I mean, there's so many more. I haven't even updated this graphic in a really long time. So many more companies we could add to this list. It's not just large companies, it's small companies too, medium-sized companies, all that good stuff. If you want to have the same success as people that write into our channel, that email us every day, you're going to want to stick around for this amazing, amazing information. And again, this is live. We are live on air right now. Turn off the distractions. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb, all that good stuff, because we have a lot to cover. And by the way, I'm also going to be asking you a lot more questions. So get ready to type in your answers. All right, let's go through what we're going to cover really quick today. So the very first thing I'm going to touch on is how to frame your career gaps as periods of growth in your resume and during interviews. The next thing we're going to cover is how to leverage your transferable skills and adapt your personal brand to fit new roles. I know this has been a question that a lot of people have asked us is, hey, I want to switch industries. How do I even do it? Where do I even start? So I'm going to give you a little bit of information today about how to do that. We'll then dive into the importance, and I put the critical importance because it is critical, of a targeted job search over a broad, unfocused application strategy. And then finally, today we will end on tips on updating your LinkedIn profile to reflect your new career direction. Now, I'm going to give you guys examples of a profile, resume examples, and interview responses. So be sure to get your notes ready, take notes, and also if you can screenshot these. I don't share my slides. This is proprietary information that I create whenever I do a live stream. So I keep those sacred and in my vault of all the content I produce, but you can take a screenshot. I'm not opposed to you doing that. So next question for you. Have you had to explain some type of career gap in an interview before? So type yes if you have, type no if you haven't. Yes or no, have you had to explain a career gap before in an interview? While you're typing that in, the very first topic I want to discuss today, how to frame your career gaps as periods of growth. And notice I say periods of growth. The one thing when I meet with clients and I meet with my academy members and my toolkit users and the people that I meet with weekly, if they have had a career gap, what I have found, and there's no shame to you, don't feel shamed about what I'm about to say or feel bad about it. This is just human nature. The career gap becomes the focus. And it's almost like they're like, oh my gosh, I have this career gap. How am I going to explain this? What am I going to say? It becomes now the number one priority to them over, hey, you know what? It's not about the gap. It's about the value you bring, what you have to offer, your experiences, your talents, your skills. So I really want you, if you guys have typed yes into the chat that you've had to explain a career gap before, I want you to pay close attention to this because it's not about the gap. It is not about the gap, even though I know it's really hard to look past that. It's about your value, your experiences, your talents, and what you have to offer. So let's talk really quickly about what actually constitutes a gap, because this could be so many different things. This could be something that's a voluntary gap. Maybe you actually initiated the gap. This could be an involuntary gap, a layoff, or something of that sort. It can be something that lasts a few months. It could be something that lasts several years. I got an email yesterday from someone that said, Heather, I have now been unemployed for 1 year. So I know it's going to look different for everyone. Maybe you took time off for personal development. This is things like you're maybe pursuing an education or extra trainings or certifications. Maybe you had health issues, right? And it could be either yourself or it could have been a family member. I get a lot of people that I'll meet with and they're now taking care of their elderly parent or maybe another relative, and they have to have that relative come and live with them, or they have to go live with the relative. And that really takes time out from contributing to the workforce, right? So that could be another gap. It could be parental leave. Maybe you had a child, a newborn, or maybe something happened with your older children and you now have to take time off for that. It could be some sort of economic downturn, right? Layoffs. I know that we've all seen a lot of these happening, company closures. It could even be something such as like a widespread economic recession, right? Another thing could be like a career transition. What we saw during the pandemic, a lot of people were we all went through the pandemic, right? And a lot of people right after that were like, no, I'm not going to go back to that toxic job that I was in. And I'm going to take time off and I'm going to explore some other things. I want to research some other companies and some other careers. And I want to do that. And that's okay. That's okay. This is not anything that you should be shamed of at all. It's okay if you have a gap. Now, let me talk really quickly about how we're going to positively frame the gap. And I'm going to give you clear examples of your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and your interview and how you're going to frame that. So I want you to always be focused on growth and learning. So this could be, let's say you had a gap, right? But maybe during that time, and if you have a gap currently and you have not yet done this, I would highly recommend doing this now, is you're furthering your education. Maybe you're obtaining a certification. Maybe you're even attending workshops specific to your industry. It could even be that you're teaching yourself some sort of skill, or you're doing some sort of information learning, right? So we're always going to focus on growth and learning. I'll tell you in a second when to take a screenshot. The other thing that we need to do to positively frame this is showcase constructive activities. This could be something like, I'm going to give you examples, volunteering, freelancing, or even consulting, right? So if you can say, and by the way, I'm giving you lots of examples here. This is just one of the things that we could use to positively frame a gap. You could say something like, oh, during this gap, I volunteered for company X, Y, and Z using my skills in X, Y, and Z, which shows the value that I can bring is X, Y, and Z, right? I mean, you guys fill in the gap, in the blanks from there. The other thing is to spin the narrative positively. Remember, I said we meet with job seekers every week. And whenever I get with a person that has a gap, it's all about the gap, right? So we need to, we're taking that off the table. And now we're going to say something like, hey, this was a strategic choice for my personal growth, or this was a necessary step due to external factors that either you could control or you couldn't control. Remember those external factors that were either volunteer, like you had to take the time off to care for a family member, so on and so forth, or maybe it was involuntary because you got laid off because of an economic downturn, whatever that is. The thing I want you to remember here, and write this down, is you need to make it outcome focused. So when I say spin the narrative positively, you need to make it outcome focused. So an example would be, let's say you took a career gap, or you're taking a career gap because you were learning an extra skill. Now you're going to talk about how did that extra skill enhance what you already bring to the table, right? So we're always going to be thinking about this in a positive light. We're also always going to use positive language. So write this down. There are some key terms I want you to avoid when you talk about a gap. We're never going to say out of work. We're never going to say jobless. Okay. Instead, I want you to use terms like sabbatical or professional development break or a career transition phrase. Okay. I'm going to say that again. Something like a sabbatical, a professional development break, or a career transition phrase. Those are the positive language. That's the positive language we're going to use. And then finally, take a screenshot. This is the screenshot, is prepare success stories. So this is where it can be specific, anecdotal, some like situations that demonstrate how that gap better prepared you for the workforce. The stories that I want you to focus on here need to be relevant to the job that you're applying for, and they need to show a direct benefit to your potential employers. So like if all else fails, what I want you to think about is, can I go get a certification? And I meet with a lot of people that are like, Heather, I went and I signed up for this course. I did this. I'm certified in this now. And I'm like, this is the best news ever, right? So can I get a certification? Can I go back and get additional education if it's in the budget, right? Can I go volunteer somewhere? Can I do some contract work? Can I freelance somewhere? Can I do some consulting, right? We're always showing that, yes, we have this gap, but what else are we doing in order to show that we are prepared for the workforce, that we are moving into our greater selves, right? And that we have value. Now, I want to give you some key phrases. So everyone has a screenshot of this, right? I'll leave it up for just a second. Let me see in the chat where you are. Let's see. Yes, and Carrie's going to be answering your guys' question. Carrie and Tori, I love them to death. We could not pull off these live streams if they were not here. Just so you guys know, it would be extremely overwhelming for me. So we are super happy that they're here. Yes, some awesome comments in the chat. Catherine said, I've been volunteering since the summer of 2018 for an animal charity. I love that. So Catherine, what I want you to do is think about, what are you doing on that job or at that volunteer position? What are you doing that is going to contribute to the workforce? Let's say it was like an accounting position or whatever, a clerical position that you were trying to find. What are you doing at that animal charity, even if it was walking dogs? But now maybe you can say, hey, let me help you with X, Y, and Z so that you can show your new employer that you are still using your skills. All right, next screenshot. This one is key phrases that I want you to use, whether this is in your resume, which I'll show you guys an example in just a second, or if it's in an interview, whatever, or wherever this is, or maybe it's just you're discussing with someone at the grocery store. I don't even care where you are, but key phrases to use. Things like, oh, I strategically enhanced my skills through yada, yada. I contributed to, and then give the project or the cause leading to such and such. Remember, I said this needs to be outcome focused. So that will help you be outcome focused. I expanded my professional network and industry knowledge by such and such. So you fill in the blanks. You could even add more key phrases to this. This is just to get your wheels spinning if you do have a gap. So screenshot that one. The next slide that I want to go to, I want to show you an example of, so I'm going to give you, these screenshots are very visual, the things that I'm going to show you. And I'm the visual learner. That's why I do slides, because if ever I'm like, hey, you need to do this to your resume and yada, 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 I'd like to have it up on the screen and show my clients exactly what they need to do. Because if you try and explain to me, okay, when you know that there's instructions that help you build a desk or whatever, if they don't have pictures, I'm like, I can't even put this desk together. I need like a picture. Even if they had a picture and it's like, put this screw here, put this bar here, I'm like, I got it. I can put this together. But if there's no pictures, I can't do that. All right, let me show you an example of a resume. So we have lots of amazing resumes in our library. This is one of them. So this is what I would call a hybrid resume. Now, we have a free simple resume. If you guys need a simple resume, we have a free one. We also, inside of our online library, which if you're an Academy member or if you're one of our career advancement toolkit users, you have access to what I call the professional resume or a master resume. That's not this, and that's not the free copy. But this one right here, this is also in our online library. I want to preface this with something. And it's going to be this. If you can get your resume and it looks okay in that chronological format, I still hands down want you to do that format every time, okay? And chronological meaning the traditional style resume. I don't have an example of it here. It's in our programs, but it's where you're going to have your summary. You're going to have maybe a highlight section, maybe a competency section, right? Just standard formatting. But the most important part is you're listing your work experience from your most recent positions to your oldest positions. I want you to do that if you can. If you can't do that and you're having some sort of that gap is really, really, really glaring, you can use this hybrid resume format. Now, I still think with the master resume, the professional resume that we have in our programs, I still think that one is probably one of the best that you can use, because I have you build up your top section and you can basically do the exact same, but I wanted to give you an example of this. So let me just point out a few things. I know the screen might be a little bit small, but you'll notice that what we're doing here is we're combining what you would call a chronological and a functional resume. Functional resumes are kind of poo-pooed on, right? Especially by recruiters, because when they see them, they're like, what's this person trying to hide, right? So you have to be really careful with using those. This is a combination of that, but it allows you to feature relevant skills at the very top. So instead of like, oh, this person has a 1-year gap, they're now going to say, oh, here's their leadership skills and here's their sales and marketing. Now, yours is going to be totally different depending on your experience and what industry you're moving into, right? So yours isn't going to be this exact resume, right? But it allows you to put those top skills at the top, those relevant skills at the top, while you're also providing a concise work history timeline below. That work history timeline is really, really, really important. The other thing you'll notice here in this example is a huge focus on the skills section. You'll also, if you are using this, need to customize it. I'll show you a couple of things in a second here with those keywords to help with the ATS optimization. You'll also need to include like project involvement. Like, what have you done that you can show that, hey, I'm qualified for this position even if I have this gap. You can put professional development on here. You can even put volunteer experience. So everyone's resume is going to look totally different depending on your skills, your experience, and the industry or position you're applying for. This is just an example. Now I'm going to drill down a little bit. The next screen that I'm going to show you is not on this resume that I'm showing you, but it is an example of what you could do on your resume to discuss a career gap. You'll notice, and this is super streamlined. I'm not even going into tons of detail. This is just a really easy at a glance example so you guys can understand, how do I structure this if I need to put this gap on my resume? So you'll notice I have a marketing consultant freelance position, right? I list my stuff there, and then I have a career development break. I list my stuff there, and then I have a marketing coordinator, whatever company, right? You could do that. It totally depends on the length of the gap, right? If it's about a 6-month gap, I don't know if I would even put it on there. Just like if you were to, I get a lot of people that are like, Heather, I was in this position for 2 months. Should I list it on my resume? I'm not a big fan of that. However, if you had a massive career accomplishment during that 2-month position, I would want you to put it in like a career highlight section at the top of your resume. So you could still include it, but you're not necessarily including it and having this whole section about a position that was only 2 months old. Does that make sense? Give me a yes if this is making sense to you, or even just type Y in the chat. Give me a yes or a Y in the chat if this is making sense to you. Next example that I want to share with you guys is that top part of your resume. So again, this is all about the tailoring. So I shared with you guys an example of what a hybrid resume would look like. I'm still a big believer in our master resume copy inside of our programs. But if you needed to, you could use that hybrid format. I wanted to show you an example. I also showed you how you could pop that into your resume as a career break. If it's long enough, yes, I want you to do that. And if you can add some significant ideas. In fact, let me go back to this. Notice that this one says, volunteered as a social media coordinator for a local charity, increasing their campaign reach. And then the other bullet point, completed a professional digital marketing certification and a course in strategic management, right? So notice how these are now results-driven achievement statements. And you guys, if you've seen any of my videos before, I talk a lot about those results-driven achievement statements. We've done that with the career break. So that's how I want you to be thinking about framing that experience. That break is not bad. It's nothing you should be ashamed of. That instead, look at what I did during this break. Look at how well I cared for this person. Look at what else I did. Look at this consulting work I did. Look at this volunteer work I did. Like, there's so much that you can add into that break to show that you have value and that you're the person that they should hire, despite the gap. So just really quickly on the resume summary, that's of course going to be at the top of your resume. You're always going to tailor that headline to whatever position is that you're applying for. And then you're always going to tailor your key skills that fall below that. And then you're always going to tailor the summary. At the bare minimum, these are the things that you should be tailoring on your resume. Regardless of what resume format you use, regardless of what you're doing, where you're going, all that good stuff. Now, let me show you really quick before I give you an interview response that you can give. Let me show you what that would look like on your LinkedIn profile if you add a career break. Now, in the beginning, when LinkedIn started allowing you to do this, I didn't love it. I was like, oh, because I was thinking, oh, this is like really drawing attention to the break. And I hate to draw attention. It's almost like I want to deflect, and I want them to only know and I'm not saying a career break isn't amazing. I'm saying I want them to only know what you've done, the relevant experience, how that's going to add to their bottom line, right? But I'm not opposed to this if you can do it well. This is what it looks like if you do add this on LinkedIn. You can give yourself a title. You can give yourself, you're going to put the dates in, yada, yada, yada. And then you can also add bullet points, which I highly recommend you do, right? So if this says full-time parenting, What can you add to that? I mean, you were probably a house manager. Give me some things about that. But this is an example of what that would look like on LinkedIn. Now, you're going to want to screenshot this next slide. This is if you're in an interview, what are you going to say? So I asked you guys earlier if you've had to discuss a career gap in an interview before. What are you going to say? So we have something like, hey, and screenshot this. During the gap between 2019 and 2020, I dedicated myself to blah, blah, blah. So in this example, I'm saying to enhancing my project management skills through an intensive certification program and freelance projects, which have equipped me with new strategies and tools that I'm excited to bring into this role. Now, you guys could change that to anything you wanted. I've dedicated myself to enhancing my blah, blah, blah skills through an intensive certification and freelance with freelancing projects. And then you could basically use this exact thing, just put your industry, right? And pursue a certification program or whatever. Maybe it's not a certification program. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you taught yourself a new skill. Maybe you did whatever. We need to embrace this. We need to frame it positively, and we need to focus on that outcome. So my next question for you, do you tailor your job applications for specific roles, or do you send general resumes? If you tailor it, type tailor in the chat. If you send general resumes, type general in the chat. So give me a tailor or general. I know that's a little bit long of an answer. Yes, good. Okay, I'm going to see, Carrie, you're on fire. I love having you here. This is so great. Okay, I'm going to just see. Okay, looks like, let me see if I can get the link. I'm just going to pop this link directly from the, let me see if I'm going to get that in there, and then I'm going to replace the pin. So some of you had mentioned that the link is not working to replace pin. Let's see if that pops up now. It could be that I have some weird emoji in there, and maybe that's not why it's not working. I don't know. So that link that I just popped into the chat, that will take you directly to the live class that we are holding. And I'm not even going to call it a class. It is a mini series. So that's going to be next week. So hopefully you guys have that. That should work now. Let's see. Okay, Richard had asked a question about hybrid resume. Should education and technical skills section be moved to the first page of the resume if these sections are foundational to relevant skills? It depends, Richard. It's going to totally depend on your industry, the position you're applying for. The only time that I'm really a fan of having education at the top or first on the page before experience and skills would be if you're a recent graduate, you're newly out of college, because that's what is the most recent of what you're doing, right? And that's where you're gaining a lot of your skills. So that would be when I would really want to put it first. Richard, I don't know if you have the toolkit, but I'm going to say for everyone, I would love you to start with the master resume template that we have. And then if you need to kind of move things around, even if you have a gap, even if you're transitioning careers, I still like you to start there. And I do have resumes for almost every scenario, resume templates, but that's a good question. Tim asked, what do you do when you have more volunteer experience than actual work experience? So Tim, I would say the volunteer, you're not going to spend too much time on that unless it's really pivotal, unless it's really changing the game for you in your career. You can still list it on your resume, right? And then I guess I would have to see, like, when was that volunteer experience over your work experience? Like, there's so many things that come into play when it comes to that. So I'm not opposed to you having that in there. Oh, by the way, Ken just popped in a question, you guys, and it's lighting up yellow for me because he said question. I really like that. If you guys can do that to your questions, that would be awesome. And then I can highlight your question. Okay, one more. I'll get to your question a little bit. Ken, someone said, my gap is 1 year. Divorce process was challenging. Living with my daughter and her family. How can I incorporate or explain my gap? So I wouldn't even talk about, if it was me, I would actually just call it like a career development, something or other, or professional career, what I had mentioned earlier. And hopefully there were a couple things in there that you could put as bullet points, because they don't need to know about the divorce. They don't need to know who you're living with. Like, you're not even going to be talking about that. You're just going to be focusing on the skills that you can bring, how to best put that to light. They don't need to know all the personal stuff, right? I mean, when you're working and you start interacting with people, and if you want to share your stuff, that's great. We never want to discuss any of that in an interview as saying, hey, well, I went through a divorce and that's why I'm not working. Or I had to move out of my house because of blah, 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 and that's why I'm not working. We're never going to do that. We're focusing on, hey, these are the skills that I have and this is why you should hire me. And then if they ask you, hey, can you explain that gap? Again, let me go back to this slide. You're going to say, even if let's say your divorce was 2019 to 2020, during this time, you're not mentioning the divorce, you're not mentioning who you lived with, whatever. You're saying, I dedicated myself to blah, blah, right? I also got a certification. I did a couple of freelance projects. Go on to Fiverr and do some freelance projects, right? And it doesn't have to be that you did this the entire time. Maybe you're just going to pick this up now, and then you can put that in the resume or mention it in an interview. All right, so let's move on. While you guys are typing this in, tailoring your resume, I know you guys I see a lot of you had said tailor, so that's awesome. I love it, love it, love it. Let's move on to step number 2 here. And this is really leveraging your transferable skills to adapt your personal brand to fit new roles. So let's kind of switch gears for a second from gaps, and I want to talk about transferable skills now. So I made a list, and I've shared this screen before, about the 12 transferable skills that companies want. So based on research, this is really what they're looking for. So screenshot this if you can, or jot these down. When we are looking at these transferable skills as employers, we want people that have problem solving, leadership, critical thinking, adaptability, teamwork, communication, so on and so forth. These are the top 12 transferable skills that companies look for. Now, I want to share a couple things with you when it comes to this. By the way, I have more links to share in a second as well. When we look at transferable skills, you have to do what we'd call a skills assessment, and then you also have to do a self-assessment. So I'm going to give you 2 free resources that you can use to do this. So when it comes to a skills assessment, and I'll pop this into the chat because Tori and Carrie, I don't think I popped this into our questions doc. This is called mynextmove.org. So I'm going to pop that into the chat. Hopefully, let me see, is that link clickable? If it's not, well, let me show you this screen too, because I know I'm going to jump over to my other page. Not that one, but this one. Yeah, there's the My Next Move. So the My Next Move, it's actually a tool that's sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor, and it helps you, as you're doing your skill assessment, to discover the type of work, the type of activities, the type of occupations that you might enjoy and are likely to be good at. So the place that you would start is discover your interests. So you'd click on the start button. That's going to take me over to the next screen, and you're going to go through a series of questions. So this is a really, really, really good starting point for someone that is trying to identify those transferable skills. So keep that in mind. I know what I was going to do. I was getting this link, and I'm going to paste the exact link in the chat. This should be a clickable link. There we go. The other link I pasted was not clickable. Now, I started this, and it was kind of a lot of questions. So I'm like, okay, I'll do this another day. I think it's like 60 questions if you go through it, but take some time if you're wondering what those transferable skills are that you have, take some time to go through this. Now, the other resource that I have here is the Clifton Strengths. This is not a free resource. In fact, I had shared this on a live stream before with the Clifton Strengths. This is probably one of the most popular one, where it takes you through your natural patterns of thinking, your feelings, behaving, and it kind of breaks them down into categories. I do have a free one. Tori popped that into the chat. This one is, and I have the page on this one too, I think. Yeah, let me show you the free version of this. So I'm going to pop that up. There we go. So this is the high five test. It's very similar, or basically the same as the Clifton Strengths, but it's free. So Clifton Strengths, I don't even remember how much that is, but anyway, so you have that. That's in the chat as well. Let me show you really quickly how that category looks when you start diving into this test and when you get your results. So it actually, again, breaks things down into categories: natural behaviors or patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And it allows you or gives you the start to say, how do I develop my strengths now, or my talents into strengths? So that's kind of something that it's going to give you. Now, we could spend like this. I love tests. I love personality tests. I love knowing like, what color are you? There's another lady that I followed years ago that breaks people down into like gemstones. I'm like, what gem are you? And it's like, I love that because I feel like we all have similarities in certain ways, right? And we all execute tasks in certain ways. And I love knowing what people are, because I'm like, oh, you're just like my 8-year-old son. And I get he's a Virgo, and I understand he does not like people that get out of line. He likes to follow the rules. He's a straight A student. But then he has a brother that is 16 now, who is a free spirit, does not follow the rules, does not get straight A's, does whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And they really clash, right? So I love hearing where they fall on these spectrums, because it allows me to either coach people better or know what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what types of positions should they be in or not be in. Okay, next question. What industry are you in? So what industry are you currently in? Or if you're transitioning into a new industry, what industry are you transitioning into? So give us the industry that you're in or one that you're transitioning into. And then again, really quickly, don't forget to save your spot for next week's 3-day live job search mastery mini-series. You're going to get to see a lot of us on the interwebs and YouTube over the next little while here. So make sure you sign up for that, heatheraustin.online/live class, or click that link at the top of the chat box, or even in the comments if you are watching this on replay. And if you're watching this on replay and you're like, where the heck are the comments? There's like a ... more. Click on that if you're watching from your mobile device, and you'll be able to see exactly how to sign up. And then again, let me show you this page too. So I do have this page up. Let me pop over to it really quickly. It's right here. So this is your sign up page. I give you exactly what's happening every day, so you should see that. All you need to do is click on Save Your Seat Now. That's going to, I have a box here. Let me see if I can refresh that. We're trying to make sure we're not getting bots, because we get a lot of bots signing up for our content. There we go. And we don't want bots anymore on our content. So you're going to go ahead and add your first name. Give us your email address. If you want to get text messages, we don't send a lot of text messages. In fact, you might not ever get a text message about this event. We are going to hopefully send some, but we may not. And then make sure it says enter, that you're not a bot. You'll check on that and then say, yes, save my spot. So that will get you on to our email list, where we can email you the notifications every single day we go live, what the day's about. You can also enter your resume and your LinkedIn profile into the review. So again, make sure you use that link. Now let's jump into the third step, which is the critical importance of a targeted job search over a broad on focused application strategy. So I have a couple of slides that I want to share when it comes to this, because one of the first things that happen when I meet with a client that does not have a targeted job search, and I'll say, okay, how many jobs have you applied for? Sometimes it's like 30 with no responses. Sometimes it's like 80 with no responses. Sometimes it's like 120. Sometimes it's like, I don't even know how many I've applied for, and I've only had 3 responses. So, and no interviews, right? So what this tells me is that they're either using like some random job search tool that's allowing them to apply for all these dang jobs all at the same time, that their job search isn't targeted, that they're all over the board, that their application material is not tailored, right? So if we can drill down to what does that targeted job search look like? And by the way, I have a training, I'll share a link on that in just a second, where we went into this in detail. Plus, we're going to be talking about it again next week. So you'll want to make sure you save your spot for that, for our 3-day mastery mini-series. That's what we're talking about on day 1. But I want to give you just a couple ideas to think about. So on the left, we have targeted job search. On the right, we have a broad job search. When it is targeted, it's a higher relevance, right? So the applications are much more likely to be seen by relevant hiring managers, which increase your likelihood of progressing through the hiring process. However, if we're looking at that broad strategy, it's a lower conversion rate, right? So this is where it's less personalized. There's a lower chance of you catching any employer's attention. Well, a targeted job search allows better allocation of resources. So what I mean by that is that you can now focus your time and your your time and your energy on opportunities that actually give you the highest chance of success. Landing interviews, landing those job offers, right? However, if it's broad, you increase your rejections. So it leads to that higher volume of rejections. And guess what that does to you? Does anyone know? It decreases your morale and it decreases your confidence. Give me a yes in the chat if you've been in this situation, right? You've applied for 20 jobs. Oh, they're the perfect fit. Or maybe it's 30 jobs. They're the perfect fit. I could have sworn they would have called me for an interview, or at least I would have gotten through the screening interview or whatnot. Well, it could be that you're using that broad job search approach. Now, the other part about targeted job search is it has enhanced personalization. So it allows you to tailor your resume, your cover letter, your application materials, and it allows you to demonstrate a clear alignment with the job requirements. The broad job search is a drain on resources, inefficient use of your time, and it prolongs the job search, right? So let me show you a couple things that you can do with the job search. Yes, I'm seeing tons of yeses in here. Todd says yes. Michael says yes far too often now. Greg says yes. Suzanne, yes. I get it. Yes. And W. Taylor says rolling eyes. Yes. This is something that definitely happens. So here's what I want you to do. And we're going to dive into this strategy next week, but I want to just give you a broad overview. We need to have the job search industry focused. So this is where you're choosing industries where your skills and your experiences can be best applied or that are in demand, right? So if you go back to the resources I shared earlier, find out what those skills are, find out what your strengths are. And it does take a little bit of time in the beginning. In fact, we will next week during our 3-day mastery mini-series, Job Search Mastery, we are going to be introducing World Class Career Academy. So I'm letting you guys know that up front. We are going to be talking a little bit about that program next week. We have an entire course that goes through your skill assessment, that goes through every little piece of where you're at in your career and where do you want to be and what positions you should be tailoring. So these slides remind me of that module a little bit. You're also going to be focused on role specification. So identifying roles that actually match your skills and where you want to be. Where do you want to be in a couple years? Where do you want to be in a year? Where do you want to be in 6 months? So we're going to that's another thing you want to think about. Company selection, this is a big one. This is where you're researching companies that actually align with your values and a culture that you know you can thrive in. I have so many stories about this. I could go into so many details about all these. And then networking, right? This is probably by far the most important component. That's where you're using a targeted network to connect with professionals in your industry and that have similar roles to what you want so that they can provide more information and potentially referrals, right? Now, let me see. I know I wanted to share my live stream. Oh, it's okay. I'll pop it into the comments. I was going to share another video with you guys, but there's so much content here on my channel. Just go look at my channel and you'll see my live stream that I did. I want to say it was like last month or the month before. We talked all about the strategy, the targeted job search. Let me actually share this success story with you guys. So this is Clay, who said, I just wanted to send you a message and tell you how much your resume YouTube video helped me. Within 3 hours of sending my resume, so again, this is tailoring the resume to the specific position, the VP of my number one choice company contacted me and we moved along in the selection process on day 1. So that's how fast it can happen. He says, I never expected results like this. I just wanted to express my gratitude and let you know you are on fire with resumes. I love resumes, even though it's a pretty boring topic for most people. I don't write your resume, but I teach you how to write your resume. And we also have resume writers on our team. So if you need a resume writer, we have that as well, but I'd prefer you learn first. So next question before I dive into our last topic for today. Which skill do you think is most transferable to your new career? Or if you're not trying to find a new career, in your career now, which skill do you think is most transferable? Type that into the chat. Yes, Tim said, which course are you talking about? So Tim's in our academy. That is the Dream Job Jumpstart. So inside of our academy, we have all these different courses, and the dedicated job search course is called Dream Job Jumpstart. You should see that in your library, Tim. Okay, Beth New, I'm going to highlight your comment, Beth, says, I thought I was doing a targeted job search, but so many people applying for the same job, I feel like I don't have a chance. This is a good comment, Beth. I'm glad you brought this up. So what I would say when it comes to this, and I hope you've saved your seat for next week's 3-day live job search mastery series. We're going to talk exactly about what you're saying here is I don't have a chance. I feel like I don't have a chance. There's so many people applying. It's not just about the application or you applying for the job. There's so many more pieces that go into it. It's about the networking, the outreach, utilizing your LinkedIn profile. There's so many pieces that come into play. And I'm going to share with you exactly what those are during next week's mini series. All right, really quickly, I want to just talk about your LinkedIn profile because this is something, I mean, we do a whole entire 3/4 day training just on LinkedIn, and I'm not going to dive into all the details about it. We'll do another LinkedIn mini series in probably the fall or something, but there are 7 categories I want you to focus on. I'm not going to go through, I'll go through each of them, but I'm not going to explain them in detail because this would take a while. And I do have tons of videos on my channel that if you do need to learn each of these pieces separately, make sure you go and look at those videos. We've been putting quite a few LinkedIn videos out lately. But when it comes to LinkedIn, and I'm going to flip through these really quickly, and then I'm going to spend a couple minutes answering questions. When it comes to LinkedIn, we're always looking at your professional profile photo. Make sure that's good, right? We're also looking at your industry-specific headline. So I give 3 methods on how to teach this, or not how to teach this, but how to put your LinkedIn headline in there. It's always going to be tailored to the industry, the job you want, and it's always going to have skills that are needed for that position. Now, you could add other things like a results-driven achievement statement. You could even add a value proposition. If you have been to a LinkedIn training of mine, you know what I'm talking about. or if you attended that mini series that we had back in January/February, but just make sure it's specific to the industry or the career or the job that you want. You want to make sure you always have an attention grabbing about section or the about summary. So this is where you're going to really think about storytelling. How can you engage someone with your story about your career journey, your transition, emphasizing passion, motivation, emphasizing transferable skills if you need to. That all happens in the about section. The other thing you want to consider with the about section is making sure that you're keeping SEO in mind. So if I'm a recruiter and I'm going to go search for someone that has your skills, you got to have them listed in the summary, right? Or the about section. So make sure you're using keywords that are appropriate or relevant to your industry to really improve that searchability. The experience section, that comes into play as well. So listing where you're at, what your job title is, and then giving some really good bullet points, and not just bullet points, but results-driven bullet points on what you've done, highlight your projects, your accomplishments, the aspects of the career that are most relevant. And you don't need to include everything, right? You could even use this directly from your resume if you wanted, and just add a little bit more personalization to it, because remember, in LinkedIn, you can speak in first person. So that would be another really good idea to do with your experience section. And by the way, you guys, I could spend like a whole 20 minutes on each of these sections, but I'll tell you when you can do a screenshot again in a second. Your education section, if that's applicable to you, make sure you have your degrees listed. You could also list certifications that support that career change or that support the gap. So keep that in mind. You could add online courses. There's a lot of different things you can add to enhance that education portion of your profile. Relevant and impactful skills. So I mentioned this during our live LinkedIn mini series last time we did this, and LinkedIn is really going for what they call a skills-based recruiting. So it's where recruiters are now really focused on those skills. Now, I was not a huge fan of adding skills to your experience and the summary and yada, 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 but I've changed my tune on that because of how much it's being used now. Now, it might not have been this way a year ago, but it is now. So you have to make sure you're adding your relevant skills, keeping that up to date. LinkedIn allows you to add 2 skills in your profile to show up on your page, but now they're allowing you to add 100. Like 2 skills show up on your homepage, and then you can list 100, which I'm like, oh, come on. Like, give me a break. It just is too many, I think. And I feel like if you can add 30 and start getting endorsements for those, rack up the endorsements for those. Once those are endorsed and they look good, then start adding more, but make sure it's pertinent to your industry. And then the last one, take a screenshot of this, is influential recommendations. So endorsements are different than recommendations. With the recommendations, that's where you're actually having someone like a peer, a mentor, well, same with endorsements, educators, anyone who can speak to your qualifications or your readiness in your new industry or for the gap or whatever that might be. You want to get those recommendations on your profile. Now, inside of our academy, which again, I'm going to share more about the academy next week. We have lessons on every single bit of this, but I also have templates for every bit of this as well. So your recommendations, how to write a letter of or how to request a recommendation. I call it letter of recommendation. That's like the formal term, but on LinkedIn, it's just how to request a recommendation, how to draft up that recommendation for someone so that it makes it easier for them to write the recommendation. So all of that is included inside of the academy. We will touch on LinkedIn next week during that job search mastery mini series, but there's a lot that goes into LinkedIn, and with a few little tweaks and changes, you can really start seeing results and getting recruiters and hiring managers to reach out to you rather than you going to like sort through all these job boards, and because it's time consuming. It's time consuming. All right, final question. I want to know this about your LinkedIn profile. Have you updated your LinkedIn profile in the last 3 months? So type yes in the chat if you have updated your LinkedIn profile in the last 3 months. If you haven't, that's okay. You can type no too. No shame. We are not shaming you. So type yes or no in the chat. I'm going to get my glasses on so that I can see what other questions we can answer here. And Tori is amazing. And Carrie's amazing, you guys. I love you so darn much. And I love all of you guys for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for showing up and being here with us so that we can, really be there for you and keep doing what we're doing. Your support, especially if you like and subscribe to this channel, it allows us to keep bringing these live sessions to you for free on the internet. And also to keep doing our weekly videos, like our tutorials that we do and all that good stuff. All right, I want to share this other screen with you before I do questions. So again, remember to go to heatheraustin.online/live class. That's the short link for this free 3-day live job search mastery mini series. So again, the goal behind this, because we do know how competitive the job market is right now, is to really teach you how to gain a competitive edge in today's job market. So what you'll do is you'll head on over to this page. Make sure you click on Save Your Seat Now. Enter your name, email address. We need your email address so that we can get you the notifications. And then also your phone number. I'm not even sure if we're going to text you. We don't even know yet, but that's optional. And then make sure you say, I am not a robot, and then save your spot. You'll get a notification email right away. So as soon as you save your spot, you'll get an email right to your inbox that says, hey, and I actually give you the links to every single day of the live training. So you'll get a link to day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And then I also give you the instructions on if you want me to review your profile and your resume during day 4 of the live session, that it gives you instructions on how to do that. So you'll get links to all that. Now, I want to share something with you guys really quickly. We've done this maybe a couple of times, but I want to do this again. Just today, we're going to do this because I know if you guys are still here with us after over an hour of training on the common job search challenges, career gaps, transitions, that you guys are serious about your career. I 100% know, and in my heart believe that if you're here with us, and I can see all of you in the chat, that you're serious about your career. So I want to give you guys a link just for today. This is today only. If you see this video tomorrow or the replay the next day, this is not going to be available. For today only, I want to share with you guys a flash offer for our career advancement toolkit. I'm not going to go into detail about what the toolkit is or any of that stuff because I'm just not going to do that. It would take me a while, but I have a page that I've shared with you in the chat. Tori's also popped that into the chat where you can click over there and look at the testimonials, the success stories. You can look at all the amazing things that we have in the toolkit. And if you decide you want to join us in the toolkit, you can, because you're here, you're serious, and I know that you're ready for that next step if you have not yet found that position, or if you are not already a member of the toolkit or our academy. So that's going to be in the chat for you if you want to join us in there. Now, let me get in and answer some questions. So I know we had a couple of things come in. Of course, Carrie's done an awesome job. Sorry, my brain's, I'm like, where's my mind? Carrie's doing an awesome job answering all these questions. Carrie, you guys are awesome. Okay, so there's a question from Benjamin. I have multiple linked accounts for different targeted jobs. Oh, LinkedIn. Okay, it says linked, but I think you mean LinkedIn. Okay. Oh my gosh, we got to talk about this really quickly. When it comes to LinkedIn, I only want you to have one account. I do know that LinkedIn allows you now to, they actually allow you to, let me see, hang on, oh, that's a different link. They allow you to combine accounts, and I think you have to do it in the back end of LinkedIn. Or you could even just search like combine LinkedIn accounts, and it will walk you through exactly what you need to do to link your accounts. But I would only have one account. Now, when you say for different target jobs, generally, you probably are applying for jobs that are similar. So, I mean, if we were to talk about AI and how AI could help you, this could be a whole nother discussion. But what I would do for you, Benjamin, is I would kind of get an idea for what positions, give me like the top 5, maybe even the top 10 positions that you are really interested in or target jobs, and get a headline that kind of encompasses the skills for each of those, and turn this headline into a value proposition, meaning what value are you bringing to all of these industries? And that value is going to be, and it could be the transferable skills. I wish I had a slide on this. In fact, I do have slides, but I don't have them readily available to show you exactly how to do this. Tell me if this is making sense, but I only want you to have one account. When you have multiple accounts, it gets really confusing, especially if I'm a recruiter and I find you on LinkedIn, but then I'm like finding another account. Like it's so confusing that you're like, which one's the real person? Because there's a lot of fake accounts out there, and it really starts confusing the whole system. One account is the best policy, and then really diving into a proper job search strategy that will not only get you in front of the right people, but will land you interviews and then, of course, job offers. Good question. All right, let me see if there's anything else. Yes, Ruben said, can I get help evaluating my resume? Ruben, sign up for our live miniseries next week. You'll get instructions on how to submit your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And if you're open to it, I don't change, but I block out all the name information on your resume. Your LinkedIn profile will be seen, which is okay. I think it's not bad, but people will get to see, oh, this is what I need to change, or what. It's a really great learning experience for people. So make sure you do that. If you wanted to, like, we have this as a service. If you're interested in that as a service, you could email me and my team at heather@professораustin.com, and we will get you like the link if you want to enroll in that service. But I would say at least start out with the job search mini series next week. And we normally will get hundreds of people that submit their resume and profile. And we try and pick people that we know, hey, we're seeing this problem with all these other profiles. We'll try and pick someone that we know it's going to help other people, because we can't do everyone, right? But that would be a great place to start. Diana had a comment. Will the series be on YouTube or Facebook? Definitely on YouTube. Facebook isn't bad. I like Facebook, but YouTube is my number one. I love YouTube so much. If it ever went away, I would cry myself to sleep for days and days and days. So YouTube by far, they have been so good to us. They are just, I wouldn't do it any other spot. So make sure you sign up to get the links and all that good stuff. Okay, Classic Mike. Let me see if I can find this comment, because I would like to pop this up on the screen. There we go. Okay, is that your, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, Classic Mike had popped a question in earlier and says, what do you do if you have passion for something and do not have a degree, only experience in working with the software/programs? Not a problem. So again, and this is to not shame you, Mike, at all. Thanks for the question. What's happening here now it's like, oh, I really love this thing, but I don't have a degree. It needs to be, I really love this thing, and this is why I'm so good at it. This is what makes me so passionate about it. So instead of us focusing on what we don't have and why we're not qualified, we need to focus on what we do have and why we are qualified. And here's the thing, you mentioned passion. This is like number one, by far, the thing that employers look for is they might have another person that has the education, but guess what? They really don't want to be there. They don't love it. It's just like, I'm here to do my job. But when someone has a passion and an employer sees, it's like you're now going to work and working, but it doesn't feel like work. So you perform so much better, and employers see that. Really good question. Hopefully that answers your question, Classic Mike, if you're still here. Okay, we'll take a couple other questions. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can find this one that my team just popped in the chat so I can get that up on the screen for you guys. Let's see here. Jennifer, I'm so happy you're here. You've got lots of good comments in here. Let me do this one first before I get to Jennifer's. And Carrie, maybe you answered this. You did. I love it. So Carrie had said to Vanessa, what if we were interested in a few different positions or industries? Again, I like what Carrie had mentioned. Try to include your most favorite in your headline. And you could even use AI to help you with this, right? That's another resource that you could try. Like, hey, and by the way, let me know, for those of you guys that are still here, have you started using AI in your job search? Yes or no? Like, type yes or no in the chat. We have so many trainings on AI. We've kind of slowed down our trainings on AI because we haven't had as many questions, but because we have lots of trainings. If you have not yet started using AI, use that as a resource. And when I say AI, my number one go-to is ChatGPT. I don't use anything else but that because it gives me the best results. They are changing it. It changes every day based on the questions you ask it. But if you know how to prompt it properly, you can get really good results. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can still pull up this other question. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. It looks like, I think we might have gotten that. Jennifer had said, how do we construct a resume for a portfolio career? I guess I'm not sure what you mean by portfolio career. Do you mean, is it like a design portfolio or something to that effect? Is that what you mean, Jennifer? If you're still here, let me know in the chat. I think that's what you're talking about, but I'm not totally sure. So a portfolio is going to be something different than your resume. In fact, I'm going to I'm not going to share her success story, but we have one of our not Career Academy, she was our toolkit users, came from the graphic design industry, and she had a graphic design resume then that really wasn't getting her anywhere because it really wasn't working with the ATS. But that's when she would say, for when I'm going to go give my design resume to a person. And then she also had what I call our master resume, right? And she calls it, I can't remember what she called it, like the plain Jane resume. We gave her that. Well, that's what she used to get past the ATS, get in for the interview, so on and so forth. And then she also had a career, like an online portfolio. So if you're in the design industry where you have to show, and design could be anything, it's anything that you have to show or demonstrate certain skills that you have rather than just on paper, then yes, you do need some sort of portfolio, like a link to your portfolio that they can see, something to that effect. Okay, good. I'm seeing a lot of you guys are using AI. Carolyn says, no idea how to use AI. Carolyn, what I would recommend you do is go to my website and check out, or not my website, you could go there because all the videos are there too, but go to the YouTube channel and search for like some of our last trainings that we've done on how to use AI in your job search. It is such a fantastic tool if you know how to use it properly, and it takes everything, like, in the snap of a finger, you're done with things, right? It's awesome. But you also have to know how to use it. Yes. Okay. Classic Mike says, I worry about using AI to help with my resume because I've heard employers are using software to detect if AI was used and immediately overlook them and move on. This is a legitimate concern for sure. This is where you have to rephrase what it says. Use it as a general guideline. Like my kids try and use it all the time for school, right? And the teachers are like, you used AI for this. And it's the same thing with employers. But you're using it for the general idea. You're not going to necessarily copy and paste it directly to your resume. But guess what? You're going to start with maybe your own bullet point that maybe you wrote about a job description, and you're going to say, hey, help me make this better. And then it's going to insert some words that maybe you wouldn't use or whatnot, and then you can pop that into your resume. So you're not going to use directly what it's asking you for. The thing that we're seeing now, you guys, in the job market, and we're going to see this more and more as time goes on, is that job seekers are using AI, but employers are also using AI. So now it becomes a question of, well, it's just AI against AI, right? So I never want you to say, I'm not going to use it because they're going to know. Well, we all need to know how to use AI. Like that's a skill that employers want you to know. Like in like the next couple of years, if not in a year, we all need to know how to use it. So you might as well start learning how to use it now, but use it as a tool that doesn't just type up all your responses and doesn't just write that email for you, that you're using it as look at it as your assistant. Even the founder of ChatGPT, the OpenAI founder, said, this is an assistant. Like you all need your own AI assistant. That's what ChatGPT should be for you. It's not doing the work for you, but it's assisting you. It's helping you. It's streamlining the process. It's taking some of those mundane tasks that might take you hours to do, and it's cutting it in half, if not more than that, right? I could talk about AI all day. Okay, good. So again, you guys remember, let me share this again with you. Our 3-day live job search mastery mini-series. Make sure you jump in and look at that. Let me also share this too. I'm going to type in a new, let me see if I can pull this page up. This is going to be active for today only. This is our career advancement toolkit. If you want to join us in that today only, and I'm only giving you guys this offer because you're here. Like you're here on the live stream, and I know that you're serious about your career. There's 12 hours left on this clock, and then that page expires and it goes to our regular full price page. So if you're interested in that, make sure you jump over to that page to take a look at that. Chrissy, I'm so happy you're here. I haven't seen you yet. I wanted to say, Chrissy, I believe you're the one that had said to me, not last live stream, but the live stream before, tell me if I'm wrong, that the audio wasn't coming through properly. And it was like only coming through one of your AirPods or something, or one side. I think we fixed that. So I was like, oh my gosh, how do I fix this? And it took me like a couple of weeks to figure it out. So I feel like, Chrissy, was that you? Or I know it was someone like you, but I think it was you that had mentioned that. And I'm so glad you did, because we don't know if something's not working unless someone tells us, right? In fact, I'm going to pop your question up. So you said sometimes AI makes the sentences wrap when you ask to rephrase. Should we stick to single line sentences on the resume? I'm not sure what you mean by single line sentences. What I'm thinking you're saying is like if you have a bullet point that you're listing like a job, like your achievement statement. I'm okay with you going to 2 lines on that, but you have to take up half of that second line. Like I never want you to have a line of information and then 1 word's on that next line. Like never do that. And I'll try and demonstrate that during the live session next week, if I can. Oh, I love it. Chrissy's like, no, not me. I usually use the speaker. Okay, good. It was another Chrissy then. And maybe she's here. She sent me a message and was like, Heather, I can't, it's not working properly. And so I finally figured it out. Love it. Classic Contessa says, I use AI faithfully. It is a lifesaver. Ted says, I use AI to write cover letters. Good, you guys. Yeah. And there is a right and a wrong way to use it. Just remember that. There's a right and a wrong way to use it. We're really not going to be discussing AI too much during the job search mastery, but if you do join us in any of our programs, we have a whole dedicated course just to mastering AI as a job seeker, including questions you need to be asking, all that good stuff. How to ask the question, how to reframe the question. Awesome. Okay, you guys, I'm hoping that I see you all next week for our Job Search Mastery mini series. Make sure you go to heatheraustin.online/live class to catch us during that mini series. You'll get a confirmation email with all the links to join, instructions on how to submit your resume and cover letter, or excuse me, not cover letter. We're not doing cover letters next week. We're doing resume and LinkedIn profiles for review. And I'll catch up with you guys then. If you have any questions after this session wraps, pop them into the comments below. I will be monitoring the comments during today to make sure I get any last minute questions answered. Thank you. You guys, can you just spread the love to Carrie and Tori for being here on this session? If they were not here, this would not be possible. So just that they're here, I'm just like, this is the greatest day ever. I'm so happy that you guys joined us. You supporting our channel, giving us a like and subscribing allows us to keep doing what we do, allows us to join you here with free trainings, all the free resources that we have, all that amazing stuff. So again, thanks you guys. I love you dearly. I'll see you during next week's live Job Search Mastery mini series. See you everyone.